My name is Christian Alexanderson, and this is Hemlocks to Hellbenders, a podcast highlighting Pennsylvania's parks, forests, and great outdoors. Last year, nearly 4 million people visited Presque Isle State Park in Erie, making it the most visited state park in Pennsylvania. And anyone who's ever visited this wonderful park understands why. There's no other park like Presque Isle in the Commonwealth. It is totally unique and incredibly special. And for many park enthusiasts like me, it's one of the best, if not the best state park in Pennsylvania. But what makes Presque Isle so unique? Well, it all starts with its location. Presque Isle is a sandy peninsula that arches from the downtown area into Lake Erie. This dramatic fishhook arc creates Presque Isle Bay, a wide and deep harbor capable of receiving everything from pleasure crafts to worldwide freighters. As Pennsylvania's only quote-unquote seashore, Presque Isle offers visitors a beautiful coastline. This coastline provides access to features and activities that you can't do in most other state parks in Pennsylvania. The park is home to 11 beaches, open daily from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day, and it's home to 2 lighthouses. Visitors can surf and scuba dive at several locations in the park, and while birding is not an activity unique to Presque Isle, what you'll be able to see is a designated national natural landmark. Presque Isle is a favorite spot for migrating birds. More than 300 species of birds have been identified on the peninsula, including many species of waterfowl, shorebirds, and songbirds which migrate annually. The park is also home to nesting bald eagles and osprey. The park's ponds and lagoons are incredible areas to explore, whether it be in a kayak or with a fishing pole. There are 6 distinct ecological zones on Presque Isle, each with a specialized plant and animal community. Take the Carl Boys Multi-Purpose National Recreation Trail for a 13.5-mile bike loop around the park. Make stops for a picnic, some sunbathing, or to explore. 25 miles of hiking trails bring you through the interior of the park, with trails leading to beaches, lighthouses, observation platforms, and stunning views. Thanks to the park's location on Lake Erie, Presque Isle is an ideal place to watch the sunset. Visit Sunset Beach or any of the lakeside beaches to enjoy the sun dropping down into Lake Erie. A brilliantly colored sky awaits those that visit. If you're lucky, you can spot the green flash, an optical phenomenon which can sometimes be seen as the sun dips below the horizon. And before you even enter the park, you're welcomed by the Tom Ridge Environmental Education Center. This state-of-the-art facility tells the story of the park, its flora and fauna, the lake, and local history. The history you'll encounter throughout the park is fascinating and colorful. You'll learn about the indigenous people who inhabited the area, the Perry Monument, Misery Bay, the War of 1812, and so much more. But before we learn more about the park, here's the stats. Presque Isle State Park is a 3,500-acre park located in Erie County. Available activities include hiking, picnicking, swimming, wildlife watching, boating, fishing, surfing, hunting, biking, cross-country skiing, and ice skating. Notable features of the park include coastline views, lighthouses, and diverse ecosystems to explore. The name for Presque Isle State Park comes from the French and dates back to the 1720s. Presque Isle means almost an island in French. They built Fort Presque Isle in Erie in the 1750s and named it for the peninsula that protected the fort. The nearest town is Erie. State lands that are close by include Erie Bluff State Park and Corn Planter State Forest. You may enjoy the park if you enjoy beaches, fresh air, and sunsets. We want to let you know that this episode experienced some technical audio difficulties. While the sound quality isn't up to our usual standards, the content is just as engaging and insightful as ever. We hope you'll still tune in and enjoy the episode. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. I'm excited to welcome Ray Bierbauer to the podcast. Ray is the Environmental Education Specialist at Presque Isle State Park. Ray, thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
How would you describe the park to someone who's never been there before?
So Presque Isle is a very unique feature here in Pennsylvania. It is known as a shifting sand spit. So it's a peninsula that juts out into Lake Erie. It provides the only shoreline here in Pennsylvania that we have that provides like a surf area. It's very dynamic and it's always changing. That's one thing that we stress here. The peninsula, what it looks like today and what it's going to look like tomorrow and so on is always determined by the wind and the waves. Here, when we get big storms and such, it can completely reshape what the shoreline looks like and even the interior. So it's a very dynamic place. It's constantly changing.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the park?
Yeah, so Presque Isle became an official state park in 1921. So we're just over 100 years now. At that time, it was already being used, certain parts of it for swimming and stuff was the big draw, coming to Lake Erie. Folks always like to recreate here. It was always a big component of the area. People come out here to fish, boating is a popular thing. So a lot of people come out here and we're doing that. So when it became a state park, that was a big part of it and continues to be the main draw of the peninsula to this day. So it's had a it's kind of managed a little bit differently than a lot of other parks. It's a little more developed, but it is highly visited. We are the most visited state park in Pennsylvania, well over 4 million people a year, sometimes touching at almost 5 million people through our gates. Most of that is coming out here in the summertime for the beaches. And that's what, from the beginning when the park was formed, we were still getting over 3 million people coming out here, and most of it was for the beaches. Um, so it's been gradually changing there. The peninsula has been reshaped. A lot of work has been going on here. We call it an engineer's playground. So over the years, basically the peninsula wants to move. It's kind of like a slinky along the shoreline of Lake Erie here, and we don't want that to happen. So they want to keep it here. So there's all kinds of structures that have been built to try to stabilize and keep the peninsula where it's at. So you can see evidence of that throughout the park, throughout the all the shoreline and such like that. So that's been something that's been a big project here throughout time that they've been working on. And there's a lot of research and work that goes on here because of all these unique habitats created by these areas that are disturbed. We go from Lake Erie water shoreline to climax forest, and we have all those habitats in between. There's a lot of different animals and birds. So a lot of folks come here to check out that stuff and visit and see those different types of animals and stuff. So researchers have been a big part of the park as well. To this day, it just continues to be a major tourist destination for many people to check out and see what it offers.
What do you love most about the park?
So the thing that I like working here is just how it's always changing. You never know exactly what's going to happen that day. There's always something going on. When you add the human element into this park, things are constantly happening that we get involved with. So that's one thing I really do enjoy. Just the diversity of work and the opportunities that are presented to us to have that you wouldn't get at a lot of other parks and other similar places of employment like this. So that's one thing. And then what really draws me in is I like fish and aquatic stuff, and I can't be at a much better place than Presque Isle. Surrounded by Presque Isle Bay and Lake Erie with all the critters that live in the water that I really enjoy working with.
Is there something everyone should experience when they visit?
Absolutely. One thing that most people, I think, when you come here, if you're going to do one thing, at least go walk out on the beach and check out Lake Erie. We work with a lot of school groups, and it's amazing how many people walk out on that beach and they think it's the ocean because you can't see land on the other side. It's 26, 27, 28 miles north of us. And that's one thing I think everybody needs to experience and see out here for sure if you're going to come out and visit. Getting into the interior of the park is another unique experience that it offers. We have an internal lagoon system where back in the day, the interior ponds were all connected to create a large freshwater fishery that never truly took shape like they had planned due to World War II and stuff. But it still exists to this day and functions as a natural fish hatchery. But to paddle through that or go through one of our boat rides is a really unique experience. You get to see a lot of unique plants and animals that inhabit that area.
Presque Isle has the distinction of serving as Pennsylvania's only quote unquote seashore. What sort of activities are popular with visitors?
So folks that want to come out here along the shoreline stuff, the swimming season from Memorial Day to Labor Day is very popular. We get the weather, the beaches will be packed. And then any of your water recreation sports go on. So surfing is something that's really popular right now, actually here in November, December, January, as long as the water's not freezing, like iced over. This is the time of year we get our big storms. So a lot of unique opportunities are presented during that. Diving, fishing, anything that's involving the water thing is a big draw.
Let's say a visitor has a weekend or more to explore the park. What would you recommend they do? They have some time.
So if you got some time, I would definitely start your day off at the Tom Ridge Environmental Center. Visit us here. Our volunteers and staff that are at our front desk, they can kind of give you a little heads up of what's going on, and we try to, our education staff keeps them kind of posted on, maybe any of the hot new items that are going on in the park to make sure you go check out and experience, like maybe a nest viewable or something like that. So you can get your park map there, kind of get the lay of the land. And then when we send folks out on the park, it's a 13.5 mile loop if you drive the whole way around. But we'll recommend some of those definite destination spots, if you have some time to stop and check out. As you come into the park, I would start at like Leo's Landing. It's a observation deck that goes out into one of our wetlands. You never know what you're going to see there. Always an eagle, waterfowl, different bird species. May even see a deer. Great blue herons and egrets are a dime a dozen at this location anymore, it seems. But those are always a highlight for many folks to check out and see. As you go around, you're going to be mirroring the bay side if you stay on the right-hand lane. As you go around, you'll come by some of our vista areas. You can pull off of those and check out the bay at various locations. Anywhere there's a pull off on the park, you're allowed to, as long as there's a sign that doesn't say no parking, you're allowed to check out there. And a lot of folks have created little areas along the way that have meaning to them to see something. So as you go around, then you're going to come to like one of the East Pier. So that's one of our channels that goes into the marina that we have. Unique spot for fishing if that's something you want to do, as well as watching some of the boats come in and out of the marina and the ones that are cruising around on Presque Isle Bay. Then you'll definitely want to stop at the Perry Monument area. This is a large obelisk that was built in 1926 to commemorate Oliver Hazard Perry and his men for the War of 1812. So there's a lot of waysides and a little walkway around there to check out that location. And it talks about the significant role that Presque Isle played in the early stages of our country during the War of 1812 and what was done here in particular and how it created this safe harbor. And then as you continue on, if it's in the summertime and on the weekends, our pontoon boat tour is running. So it's something that our volunteer staff takes folks out into the lagoons on a free interpretive boat ride. They do go out into Misery Bay some, and then they take you through the lagoons, sharing you various stories. And if everything goes as it's been the last few years, you'll get to view an osprey nest, the eagle nest, see some turtles, and there's always fish visible over the rails of the boat too as you go along. So it's a great opportunity to get some more park history and natural history about things that you can see there. Then continue around visiting out by the North Pier where the channel is that enters into Presque Isle Bay. You go by our houseboats. Those are something unique. There's about a little over 20 floating homes out there that people use seasonally. Nothing is used year round, but many of them do have electric and running water to them that folks use. And you might see some folks using them as well there. So unique little features that they gather all the boats and put in this what's known as Horseshoe Pond. And then the channel, as I mentioned, is a unique spot to hang out. Very popular for fishing because it goes down pretty deep, a little over 30 feet it's dredged down to. This is where all the big freighters are coming in and out of Presque Isle Bay to deliver the goods or whatever it may be that they're hauling to bring in. After you head around there, you'll be on lakeside then, as we like to call it, and you can visit any one of the beaches to get a view of Lake Erie itself, maybe dip your toes in the water some. If the lifeguard's on duty, you're allowed to swim at those locations. And then you have to make sure you stop and see the lighthouse that we have here that was constructed in 1872. It's open most days of the week during the summer for tours to check that out and go up and all the way up and see what the lighthouse view is like up there. And then as you continue around the park, you're going to be, we call it outbound now, so you're kind of exiting the park. You're going to go by the other swimming beaches as you go. So, checking any of those ones out. Each one kind of offers a unique thing. And then what a lot of folks like to do, if you like to go searching for beach glass or any other little like artifact type things that may wash up, the first beach, Beach One, is one of our better locations for doing that with the cobble substrate that's there. So you can kind of take a slow stroll along the shoreline there and see if you can find yourself some of the beach glass that washes up from the lake.
So there's a million things they can do.
There's so much to do. That's what, coming in and talking to one of our staff here or volunteers, we can kind of narrow it down, what you're really interested in, and kind of guide you on some of those things that are available at the time. But yes, there are a lot of things to do, and trying to capturing all that in is very difficult. I think that's why we have so many people that come back all the time to just keep experiencing some of that stuff.
Let's say somebody only has maybe a couple hours, they're kind of passing through the area, or maybe they're visiting somebody. What do you recommend they do? What are the kind of the highlights that you would tell them to check out?
So as they come in, I would definitely recommend stopping at one of our beaches and experiencing that part. And then the lighthouse is always a key thing for people to want to come out and see. Because when people are short on time, it can be challenging sending them all the way around the park. Because if you go the speed limit, it's going to take you about 45 minutes to go all the way around. So trying to guide them directly to the lighthouse, giving them the opportunity to see that, and that they can also visit the beach at that location too. So checking that out would be something. If you're into the shores and lagoon system and things, maybe trying to catch one of our pontoon rides or taking a kayak or something for a little paddle through there. And then some of our hiking trails can be kind of short too. And if they're, again, looking for something in particular like to experience, we can recommend one of our interior trails to go check out very quickly too. So having the limited time, that's a little more challenging, to experience, but we can definitely point to some of the highlights that are here on the park too, that are unique, that you're not going to see at many others.
When's the best time to visit the park?
Best time to visit the park. The park is open 365 days a year unless we have weather, that can always play in. But the best time, if you don't want to be with the crowds, avoid, the summer months. I personally really enjoy fall out here. The park can get really pretty with the leaves. Being next to Lake Erie, typically in the fall, it stays warmer here along the shoreline than it does inland. And we're talking sometimes as much as 20 degrees. So it can be very comfortable out here much later into the season. Spring is always amazing with the bird migration that we have. So if you're into birding, getting in that early May, end of April through May, you can really see a lot of the different little tweety birds, as I call them, the little warblers and stuff that come through. And it's also a great time to go fish. If you've never experienced Presque Isle on a typical winter, it is truly something else to see when we get a lot of ice and the ice dunes and stuff that form along the shoreline. So far, we don't have much hope for that in the extended forecast. It's looking like, but when they do come, it is really neat to see. So best season, it all depends on what you like. I really enjoy the winter, fall, spring. The summer is probably my personal least favorite. Just I don't enjoy the heat that much. So, but every season offers something truly unique out here for a person to come out and visit. And trying to experience all of them would be something that I would recommend.
Keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep coming back. And like I mentioned in the beginning, it's a dynamic place and it's constantly changing. I've worked here now for almost 16 years, and the changes that have happened here are really amazing. You see things, parts of the park are no longer there that I remember when I was started working here. So it's very dynamic, always changing. Things come and go. So there's always something new to see.
The Tom Ridge Environmental Center is the gateway to Presque Isle State Park. What can visitors see inside the 65,000 square foot state of the art facility?
So in our building here, it is our welcome center as well for Erie County. So you can get all kinds of information on everything within the area regionally that you want to do. You can come in here. Our first floor is kind of set up to share the plants and animals in the formation of the peninsula. So we have a variety of exhibits here that talk about the ice age when the peninsula was formed as the glaciers kind of pushed up this sandbar area that we now sit on. We do have a short 15-minute film that shows Presque Isle through the season. So if you're unable to return to the park for all those different seasons, checking out this little 15-minute film can kind of give you a little taste of what each season offers. And some great videography of the park as well. There is a little discovery room for younger children to kind of do some nature play experience thing. And then on our second floor, we have a portable exhibit area. So things kind of change up there, what's going on at the time. So the best way to find out exactly what's going on there is to give the center a call first to see what's up there. If you're at the center, you got to go up the tower. So we have a 75-foot tower that you go up all the way and you can see out over part of the park and a nice view of Lake Erie as well. We also offer a gift shop here. There's restrooms too. And as I mentioned, you get all the information that you need for your visit here at Presque Isle and the Erie area.
I know I was so blown away by the center when I visited last in 2021. When you hear kind of environmental education center in a lot of state parks, it's kind of one room. It's 70s paneling. They have some stuffed animals and maybe some drawings of plants. But this place is, when they say state of the art, they're not joking around. I mean, it is phenomenal. The way the exhibits actually can flow, and you could walk in and you go. A lot of times you walk in and you go, "Where's the beginning of this thing? Where's the end of this thing?" It's not that way at the environmental center that you guys have. I think it's the best in the state, and it's one of the best ones I've ever seen anywhere.
It's pretty great to work at. Like you said, not only do we have the exhibits, there's multiple classrooms in here that we use for programming. If your visits here, you may get lucky, and one of the educators has done a little pop-up thing where we have some stuff out there to teach folks about one day about something unique, whatever that may be. So yeah, there's a lot of great things that you can just kind of bump into here at the center and see what's going on throughout the park as well.
And now, let's hear from our sponsors. Registration is now open for the Keystone Trails Association's 25K Trail Challenge on September 7th. Open to both trail runners and hikers, the KTA 25K Trail Challenge is the perfect opportunity to push yourself to the limit. With steep climbs, rocky terrain, fantastic vistas, and scenic forest hollows along the picturesque lower Susquehanna River Gorge. Participating in this challenge helps further the organization's mission of protecting, preserving, and providing safe and enjoyable hiking opportunities within Pennsylvania. Register today at kta-hike.org. Are you looking for your next adventure? Unlock some of the best landscapes in Pennsylvania with incredibly detailed, highly curated, waterproof trail maps from the folks at Purple Lizard. They create extraordinary maps of Pennsylvania state forests for people who love to explore the outdoors. Find them at your local outfitters, bike shops, and bookstores, or visit purplelizard.com, where your next adventure begins. Hey podcast explorers, did you know Pennsylvania state parks and forests are the heartbeat of our Commonwealth? They're not just natural wonders, they're vital for our well-being and local economies. That's where the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation steps in. They rally volunteers, raise funds, and advocate for these precious lands. Join the movement to preserve and enjoy our outdoor treasures. Learn more at paparksandforests.org. Let's keep Pennsylvania untamed and beautiful together. All right, back to the show. We spoke about it a little bit. One of the biggest attractions to the park is Presque Isle Bay and Lake Erie. What sort of activities are popular with visitors? What do most people do?
So if it's summertime, the swimming is very popular. Folks want to come out here and get their feet in our waters. This is the only location that offers the surf type of setting. So it can be very neat. Lake Erie can go from glass to some pretty big waves. So it can be a unique swimming experience as well. So folks like to do that. Fishing is always something that is going on here. Fishing is one of our biggest things when we get into the early spring. We get all kinds of fishermen from all over the country that come here. We're known for walleye, perch, steelhead, largemouth, and smallmouth bass. So it's one of the best fishing that you can offer in the country for a lot of that. And it's all available right here in these waters. And when you come up here to fish, there's so many different locations. Lake Erie may be rolling with 6-foot waves. You're not going to go out there today, but you got Presque Isle Bay, and then you got the interior of the park as well. So most of the time, if you're on a boat, you can find a spot to fish. But if you're fishing from shore, there's many opportunities as well. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people come up here for, is because there's an opportunity to do it in multiple ways to try to get into fish. Other water activities, you have folks that are on their boats just recreating, going through, riding their boats in the area, water skiing, tubing. And then something that's really gotten popular is kayaking. We have a lot of people that like to kayak, not only Presque Isle Bay, but throughout the interior parts of the park here. So that's a really unique way to experience the park, I think, is going through a kayak. And then there's folks that kayak out on Lake Erie as well, but majority of them are staying within the waters of Presque Isle Bay and the park itself.
Did you say also that people surf there?
Yes. So surfing, as I mentioned a little bit ago, so usually we get our bigger storms starting in October, November, December. We get our larger waves, and there's folks that are surfing here. So um, during the swimming season, that is an activity that is not permitted within the swimming zones, but the areas that are not designated swimming, so there's no lifeguard present, you can surf at. But as I mentioned, in the summertime, we don't get the wavy like conditions that we get in the wintertime here. So these folks, they're out there in their wetsuits, I guess, and they're bundled up and off they go. A variety of different types of sail or surfboards. They have the ones with the sails on them, whether they're attached to a mast on the surfboard or they got like a kite that's pulling them through. And then there's these little boards that have, I think it's like a hydroplane thing. It's a little fin that goes down and brings them up out of the water. They do that now too. So you see them coming out, and they got beards like me, and they got ice just hanging everywhere. I don't know how that's real comfortable. The lake. I don't know what the temperature is now, but parts of it have been skimming over with ice, so it's got to be getting cold. But they're out there running through, all that, and they can do that on not only on the lake side, but also Presque Isle Bay. Really unique opportunity that you're not going to find in a lot of places locally.
No, I don't see anybody surfing in most state parks.
No.
What can you tell us about the ponds and the lagoons in the park? What do you think is the best way to explore them?
So if you can definitely kayak them, I think that is the most unique way to just slowly go through them. Because my experience with kayaking, if you just take your time, so you can just look over the edge of your boat and you can see the fish, you can see the plants. You can usually just kind of creep up on turtles, frogs, and the herons, and the variety of other waterfowl species that may be here. Um, so we have two ponds that are very popular that are man-made. They're at our waterworks area. If you look at our map, they're kind of square. So that kind of gives you a sign that they're man-made. They're great for fishing. So if you like fishing, especially if you have little kids, they're good for bluegills and things like that. So we call it dip and lift. You just dip the hook and you get a fish. It's pretty wild how many fish the kids can catch there. So it's a great opportunity to keep some attention and do a lot of fishing. And then once you get into the interior part of the parks, like I mentioned earlier, the ponds are all started to be connected in 1913. They were dredging to connect them all to make a large freshwater hatchery, but it didn't come to complete fruition due to several things. But it still had its effect that it did connect the whole pond. So you can put in a kayak at the lagoon boat launch, paddle through the lagoons, go under we call it the low bridge, into the marina lake where our marina is, exit the marina into Presque Isle Bay, and then paddle the entire shoreline back to where you put in at. So about 6.5, 7 miles, depending on exactly how you weave through. So really good way to see a lot of the park and several different types of bodies of water, from the kind of lagoon system where it's a lot of plants and stuff out into the marina lake, and then Presque Isle Bay itself. Very unique way to experience that, and one that I would really recommend. But if you are unable to kayak and stuff, getting on one of our interpretive boat rides or visiting our concession here and renting one of their boats, you can take those through the system as well and experience it very similarly.
Presque Isle offers a number of educational and recreational programs throughout the year. What kind of subjects and programs do you cover?
Basically, our staff of 6 here, anything you can think of, we're going to cover. With our school programming, a lot of it focuses on the beach and the lake and the ponds. So that's where a lot of it is. But we offer almost every recreational activity you can think of: archery, fishing, kayaking, primitive skills. So we'll teach you to start a fire with a bow drill. We introduce folks to camping, backpacking, birding, again, anything you can kind of think of, our staff here can handle doing a introductory program for. And then our educational programs, anywhere from our history talks, as I mentioned with the fishing programs, we can do macros, plants, forest hike, a succession hike where we're talking, we start at water's edge and go all the way into what we call the climax forest here and visit each one of those sites, any of your different animal IDs and stuff. So we have an opportunity here at the park because, like I said, there's so many different things that we can really offer a variety of things. So we do some campfire talks. We have really dived into the virtual world since the pandemic. We've been able to present many virtual programs, and that's how we get into a lot of the schools now for like our pre-lessons and such. And then we have our regular monthly and every other week programs that we offer virtually as well.
As a national natural landmark, Presque Isle is home to a number of the state's endangered, threatened, and rare species, as well as migrating birds. What can visitors spot throughout the year?
So again, depending on the time of year, with the birds, you can see up to 300, a little over 300 different species of birds in a given year. So it makes us one of the top places in the world to come and look at birds. Every year it seems like we get one of those ones that we get to add to our life list as well. So I've added one this year, a short-eared owl. It was the first time I got to physically see one. Saw multiples that day. So, and the birding, it's very seasonal, as most folks know. In the spring, you get a lot of the songbirds coming through. With all the different plants and stuff, if you want to see them blooming, things you got to kind of time that up with, do a little research for the particular species. But there's over 700 different plants that grow out here at Presque Isle, many of which are rare and endangered. And a big reason for that is because, look at our habitat. It's a sand spit out in Lake Erie. You're not going to find that anywhere else in Pennsylvania. So it's very unique in that a lot of rare and endangered plants are found here on the park. Within the state, but within our system, here on the park, that many of them are doing quite well. Lots of different insects as well. Mammals, I think there's like 44 different types of mammals that we have on the park. Some of those, include like black bear that come once in a blue moon. That's how I spent my very first day on the park, was tracking a black bear. We haven't had one that I'm aware of since then, actually on the park. So our largest mammal here is white-tailed deer. We do have coyotes, which a lot of folks find out, but they do live here on the peninsula. Foxes, a variety of all your small rodents and stuff like that live here as well. With the birds too, we have bald eagle's nest, and there's plenty of eagles here. We see those throughout the year. Something we're really excited about are the number of ospreys that are now on the park and nesting. Up to 6 years ago, there had never been a documented osprey nesting on the park. We saw them, but never had a nest. And now we had 4 nests that were successful this year, and birds have started to build 2 new nests on the park as well. So really excited for that to be going on as well. And then if you want to get into the fish, again, that's seasonally which ones are coming and going, but there's over 100 species of fish that can be seen around the shores here of Presque Isle. Anywhere from the 6-foot lake sturgeon to all the little darters and such that make their homes along our little shallow shoreline here.
It's funny because when I went there, my first impression was it felt very Shenandoah in terms of like, oh, it's like a driving park where you can park and you get on the side, you see these beautiful things. And the more I'm listening to you is like, man, I'm so wrong just in terms of like, you guys have so much to see there in terms of wildlife. The numbers you throw out are just wild.
That is one thing, like how many people do just drive through the park. They don't physically get out. And that's what we've noticed here in the summertime. On a 3-day weekend, we could have over 100-some thousand people on the park. And if you go into the interior, go for a walk or a paddle, you wouldn't have a clue there's that many people out there, because so much of concentration is solely on the shoreline with the beaches and and the visit areas like the pavilion areas and stuff like that. But once you get into the interiors, it's amazing how much you can see and what is actually here. A lot of the animals and stuff, they've kind of gotten used to this, so they become very nocturnal. So it is challenging to see some of this during the daylight hours. But once we get into like winter time here now and stuff, the animals kind of shift gears a little bit and they're a little more visible throughout the day in various locations. And, our visitation goes way down compared to in the summer. You don't have nearly the traffic and stuff that we do in the summertime.
Presque Isle has 11 miles of hiking trails. Do you have any trail recommendations for visitors?
So if you're going to come out here, our trails are highly influenced by Lake Erie water levels. So again, that's where contacting here at the trek or talking to somebody to get an idea of what conditions are like, because the water levels go up and down, and it can really influence what the conditions are like at some of those. For several years ago, when we had Lake Erie water levels were at an all-time high, we did not have a dry hiking trail here. You needed at least knee-high to walk. But now many of them are back to dry conditions. So, but my personal favorite trail, if I were to walk one, would be Long Pond Trail. It's about 3/4 of a mile. It goes along the interior lagoon pond called Long Pond, and it offers a great opportunity to see a lot of stuff. If you're along the water's edge, you can see a lot of unique things. We often have owls that nest in those locations. You can see deer. And again, you have a couple viewing points along Long Pond that you can see the entire lagoon system. And you never know what you're going to see there, between deer, eagles, ospreys, or river otters may even make an appearance once in a while. So that's always something cool. And the beavers, you can see those. So that's one that I definitely recommend. If you want to experience, the true Presque Isle, I guess, and really what we're all about, hiking to Gull Point would be one that I'd recommend. It's about 1.5 miles one way, and you're walking in very fine sand. So as I described to people, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Uh, so you're going out there a little ways, but it takes you out to the very tip of the peninsula. And we have 2 large observation decks out there now that you can climb up. I think you're like 10, 12 feet up in the air. So that's something that makes us really unique in having that habitat out there that we have to kind of manage for several different species of birds, as well as all the ones that come migrating through to kind of rest here before they continue on their journey, whether it's across Lake Erie up to Canada or heading further south.
How many designated beaches does Presque Isle have?
So on our map, I believe we have 11 like numbered beaches throughout here. Which ones are open for swimming have been very variable over the last few years due to some of the infrastructure and number of lifeguards. But typically we have beaches 6, 8, 10, and 11 open for swimming. Those are our main goal ones to have. And then depending on, again, availability of our lifeguarding staff, and so we can open up some of the other ones like Beach One and things. But all of our beaches, you're allowed to be on them from sunrise to sunset. You're not allowed to wade any deeper than your knees, so going out a little bit in those unguarded areas, as we like to call those. And so, you can experience any of the beaches, but if you want to actually go in and be diving into the water and everything like that, you got to be in front of one of our lifeguards out here. A lot of folks don't quite realize how volatile Lake Erie can be and how dangerous a body of water it is. I give our lifeguards so much credit, the responsibility they have to watch over so many people out here and ensure their safety under some of the conditions that they can have. They train very hard and really have a lot of responsibility out here. But yeah, a lot of good swimming beaches. If you got a younger kids or younger family, Beach 11 is our protected beach. Typically, it doesn't get the waves because it's protected by Gull Point that kind of hooks around and creates a little bit of a bay and shelters it from most of our prevailing winds. So it stays much calmer and it gets a little bit warmer too.
Well, let's stay on the shore. The park is home to 3 historic lighthouses that visitors can see. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yep. So on Presque Isle, we have 2 of them. So we have the Presque Isle Lighthouse, which was built in 1872. That's the one that our Presque Isle Lighthouse Association manages and stuff. So you can go into that one, check it out. At one time, it used to be one of our management housing that we had here, so they lived there. But since now we wanted it open to the public and stuff, we now have this nonprofit group that has taken it over and they returned it more to what it would have looked like back then. and do regular tours. You can go all the way up to the tower, out onto the little deck that goes around the light up there, and see the view that they have and hear many of the unique stories that are here from the park. So that's been a very vital infrastructure that was built out here. Lots of stories that we share with that throughout our programming that we do. And then our other lighthouse that's here on the park is more of a pier light. If you go to the North Pier, the channel that comes in and out of Presque Isle Bay, there is a little tower at the end of that that's black and white. That is a little pier light that marks it. So that's another one of our lighthouses. And then while you're standing there on the North Pier, if you look south towards the city, over towards the city side, you can see the land lighthouse. So that was one of the first lighthouses that was built on the Great Lakes. And that is also now managed by the same group that manages our lighthouse here. So you can get a little combo pass and be able to go tour all three lighthouses. Well, the two of them you can go into the pier light. You just kind of view from the outside. But you can go check those out and see the history. Their volunteer staff does interpretive stories about how the lighthouses have been used and changed over the time and everything. So very unique opportunity. A lot of folks then come here to the Tom Ridge Center. They have their little lighthouse passport books to get the stamps, and we can stamp those for everybody as well when they visit here.
What kind of tours are available from concessionaires in the park?
So on the park, we have a bike rental concessionaire. So they have a variety of bikes. This one's pretty popular. They got Surreys, which are anywhere, the big four, they have four wheels, two-seaters, and then they have ones that haul like four people on it as well, so double seats. Those are popular. They have a variety of trikes. And something else they've added to their fleet in the one pond, they have like water bikes. So you're floating on these massive tired bikes, pedaling them, and they got the wheels have treads on them that help to propel you through the water. So that's one opportunity there. So, and they also offer some tours of the park as well. And then our other concession that we have for renting equipment is our canoe and a rental area. They have small boats, small pontoon boats, V-bottom boats, kayaks, and canoes and paddle boards now. Each one kind of has a little different rule where you can take it. Like the power boats, they can go out into the bay, but the kayaks and stuff have to stay within the lagoon system. So they can take care of that. And they also rent some of your basic fishing equipment there too that you can borrow. And they have some bait that you can get as well. And then the other concession that operates on the park for tours is our Lady Kate. So they offer a tour, weather permitting. They take you out into Presque Isle Bay and then through the channel and out into Lake Erie a little ways and do an interpretive tour of the various things that you'll see along the way. So that's a really cool experience too.
For those that bring their bikes, there's the 13.5-mile multi-purpose trail. What can you tell us about the trail?
So this is the trail that you can pick up at the entrance of the park, and it basically mirrors our main road system as you go around. So at some point, it does have some separation from the road. There's like a boulevard type thing, grass and trees in between. But also as it continues along, it may get real tight to the road. But it just kind of mirrors the road, goes along the shoreline of Presque Isle Bay, and then it goes up along, does the full loop as our regular main road. So it's a paved path, pretty popular for, like you're saying, bicyclists, rollerbladers, walkers. It's any type of form of thing that you're basically not going to run somebody over going too fast. Like, so you're not going to go faster than somebody running on the trails that they kind of recommend. So a variety of things. There are some spots, it is a trail that's on the peninsula, so there are some areas it's not perfectly smooth, tree roots and stuff like that, and there may be a little bit of gravel here and there, but it's really popular. That is something that is used year-round here on the park. Part of it is plowed up until the marina, so almost about 4 miles of it we keep open year-round for folks to use. And then the other half, if the conditions permit, is popular for cross-country skiing because it's a nice flat surface that's out in the open. And it usually, for the most part, free of a lot of the debris and stuff that can occur in our interior trails. But it can get pretty busy. You never know what you're going to find on it. Animals are always along it as well. Some of it could be wet from the waves or high water levels as well. So it's a very unique trail that we have that gets a lot of use around the park.
Yeah, when my wife and I visited, we had a really good time just walking along. There were the morning runners, and you had the people riding their bikes, and you had the people who had their rentals. I also really liked the fact that it was covered from the sun for big portions of it, so you
Yeah,
can kind of go through, and you're not absolutely getting pounded. If you go there in the summer, you're not getting
yeah.
pounded by that sun. You have a little bit of relief.
Yeah, especially in the Bay side, there's a lot of shaded areas in there and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So it offers a great experience for that. And then if you want something a little bit more sunny and things, and you get on the lake side, tends to be a little less protected from the wind and the sun. But it's a great experience for folks to have an opportunity to see the whole park, on a bike or walking or running, whatever you may choose.
Do you have any tips for people that are planning on visiting the park?
So big thing I think is to call and check, see what's going on here. Sometimes we do have a lot of major events that occur out here, so I don't think you'd want to be planning a trip to come up and find that unfortunately the park is closed until noon due to the marathon, for instance. Now, because it is gets we have a lot of safety things that we got to consider now. You learn over the years how to kind of prevent some of the things that have happened in the past. So checking the schedule of events, what's going on is something I would highly recommend. The weather is very dynamic up here. It changes quickly. The lake influences our local weather a lot more than what it does just on the other side of Interstate 90, which is only a couple miles away. So, maybe giving us a call here at the Tom Ridge Center and speaking to one of our staff can kind of give you a little heads up about, hey, I'm thinking about coming at this time. Can you let me know if there's anything happening and what's available? Usually we have like our programming and stuff. So if you're looking to join us on a paddle or a bike ride, a hike, something like that, we can always offer, let you know when those are available too. So doing a little bit of that pre-planning if you're going to visit is something I would highly recommend at this particular park because of so many other entities use the facilities as well.
Well, Ray, I want to thank you so much for being able to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. And like I said, if folks have any questions about the park, just give us a call here and we can do our best to answer anything.
I want to thank my guest, Ray Bierbauer, for joining the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Meta for more information about upcoming episodes. You can support the podcast by buying merch at hemlockstohellbenders.com, or you can click support this show in the podcast description to provide a monthly donation. If you're a Pennsylvania business interested in advertising with the podcast, email us at hemlockstohellbenders@gmail.com. This has been Hemlocks to Hellbenders. I'll see you out there. Hosting, production, and editing by Christian Alexanderson. Music by John Sauer. Graphics by Matt Davis.